Hi, I'm Ellen, and welcome to day 17 of Vlog Every Day in April. Today's topic is divination tools. So, what are divination tools? Divination tools are those tangible things that we use to help us focus messages or receive messages, or perhaps to expand upon messages that we've received. So, what divination tools do I use? My divination tool kit is pretty tight. I've tried a number of different things. I just find that for me, not everything clicks. And I'm one of those people, honestly, that has such a broad range of interests and abilities that there's a part of me, and I'm sure it's the very Libra part of me, that very air part of me, that would like to be able to say, I work with everything. And I don't. As I said, I've tried many different things, and yet what I've landed on really are 5 tools that I use mostly. And even those are used more in a way of backup. They're more for either validation or for expansion rather than the meat and potatoes of my intuitive work. So, what are those 5 tools? They are my trusty pendulum. And what I use my pendulum mostly for, as it's going into its yes response, is simple yes or no inquiries, or for clearing energy. Divination, obviously, we're talking about the yes or no part. I have been known to create a chart, like a wheel chart, if I have a multiple choice question. That's always fun, and I really recommend that. Okay, notice how now it's going into a spin. I haven't picked it up in a few days anyway, and what is it doing? It's working with the energy. Yeah, it's working with the energy, which is fine. So, and it's going back into its yes response, so I'm gathering it's probably complete. Yeah, it also knows it isn't going to really be exercised today, so to speak. It isn't necessary. My guides have something to say about this, so this will be interesting. We noticed that with the pendulum, we would ask for you to remember it is an extension of your own soul. It is an extension also of the energy of your guides, ancestors, angels, elementals, off-worlders, and other light beings with whom you may work. And so we would ask for you to understand that it will develop as you develop. Ooh, okay. Yeah, so in the video that I made about spirit guides, I talked about the educational foundation that is our spirit guides, and how, like teachers in our regular human schools, they change as we grow. So we don't have the same teacher from kindergarten through 12th grade, right? Neither do we have the same spirit guides and connect with all the same light beings throughout our lives. Some, yes, but mostly there will be some changes because as we grow, we need different teachers. And so our pendulum develops along with that development, which is interesting to consider. I really do consider my pendulum as having a personality. In fact, its current name is Patience, and it's had, 3 or 4 names since I've received it. And that's because its energy changes periodically as I change. So when I'm working with it, it feels very much like working with another energy that we would, yes, perhaps call by name, that we would say please and thank you to. I treat my divination work very much as a conversation. So just a tidbit to consider. So that's tool number 1 that I work with. Tool number 2 that I work with, divining rods. And this is always fun bringing these out. I use these a lot less than I use my pendulum. Okay, I need to fix my hands because they don't have enough room to do what they want to do. I love this set because my fingers rest on sleeves, quote unquote sleeves. It's a sort of a cylinder that the actual rods sit within so that it's easy to hold them and you're not interfering with the movement of the divining rods. And so it just takes a lot less, let's see, dexterity to work with them. Because if you've worked with traditional divining rods that don't have these sleeves, you have to hold them a certain way. You really have to work to make sure that your hands are supporting them without manipulating them. It's tricky. These, you don't have to worry about that. Just make sure your fingers are out of the way of the little things at the bottom and out of the way of the swinging arms, and you're good. So what do I use these for? Energy work, and also they're great for finding high electrical volume, as I just heard, in a house or on a property. Good for locating water on a property. I just heard validating water, which is really interesting. So for example, if you have a well on your property or another water source, you could use these to validate the water source, even though you know it's there, to use these and have them, this is kind of a neutral position that they're in right now. And then as you get closer to the water source, by rights, what'll happen is they will either cross or come together in some way. And the same thing with finding that electrical volume in your house. Same sort of thing. They will, there's almost, I just heard that they have a transaction. The rods end up having a transaction with each other, which supports, validates where the high energy is. What else could these be used for? As I said, energy work, which I don't think everybody uses them, but neither do I suppose that everybody uses their pendulum for energy work. And what else? Is there anything else they could be used for? No, so that's pretty much it. They can be a lot of fun. Sometimes these things, they will just spin and spin and spin. It's just quite amazing what they do from time to time. So yeah, you can find things like these are on Amazon. Obviously they're quite small, as you can see. They have, I think they have like a 6-inch arm, and they're copper. So yes, divining rods. So the next tool in my toolkit is a crystal ball. Is it really crystal? I mean, it's glass, let's be honest. It'd be super cool if it was actual crystal. Oh, I did clean it, but boy, I can tell that it needs more cleaning. So what do we use crystal balls for? Or, as they can sometimes be called, gazing balls for? I just heard the word focus, and why would that be? Because when we have an object of this nature, let's say that our tendency is to be easily distracted, or it's just that rather than meditating where sometimes our mind can just cycle through whatever and perhaps make it more challenging to see images. If we choose a tool like this and intend that it will be our way of clairvoyantly seeing what needs to be seen, then we give that object that energy. We make it that focal point. And so imagine that holding that intention, with practice, chances are you're going to see quite a bit. So if you are a person who does need an object or is helped by an object to be a focal point, and actually I'm being shown by my guides mala beads. If you're a person who finds that you can meditate more easily with mala beads, you may be a person who will find more clairvoyant activity with a crystal ball. And again, this isn't a huge one. It fits in the palm of my hand. Yes, it's heavy. I mean, it's heavy, it's solid, and yet it isn't that big. What is it? 4 inches in diameter, maybe? And it is not something that I use often. However, it has its purpose, and when I do feel called to use it, then I'll have it available. So my guides are showing me Hogwarts, and specifically they're showing me Dumbledore's office and that basin of water that he has there where you can look into it and you may actually fall into it. And so again, a similar sort of function. I feel like the point being made here is, do you want to speak to the point being made here? Okay. We notice that with the crystal ball, or if you prefer with a basin of water, the point being you have a reflective surface. The reflective surface, yes, perhaps will show you in part you. And yet, when you look deeper, more intently, with more purpose, it is then that you may see past, present, future. You may see other realms, or whatever it is that you are intending you will see. The object becomes your portal. Oh, so that's great. So there you go, crystal ball. So my 4th divination tool in my kit is oracle cards. And for the purpose of this video, I was guided to Earth Magic by Stephen Farmer. So what are oracle cards? Oracle cards are a method by which we can gain insight, we can perhaps gain inspiration, and it's really interesting. I've never done this before. However, I'm being asked to consider the feeling of oracle cards beside the feeling of tarot cards, which is my 5th tool. And this is the Housewives Tarot, so I guess these are coming out to play together. Tarot cards, as with oracle cards, are also great for insight and, oh, I just heard for research, so that's interesting. Could we use oracle cards for research? No, so this is interesting. We notice that with oracle cards, there is a feeling of more on the level of comfort. we noticed that with oracle cards, there is a lighter feeling for most who would choose to work with them, and this is why they gravitate to them, for they will receive enough without receiving more than they feel they are prepared to receive. Yeah, it's really, thank you for that. I totally get that, because when I was first starting out, oracle cards were the only thing I would work with. I would have none of the tarot cards because of some of the cards in the deck. I didn't want to deal with the quote-unquote negative cards, like the death card and the tower card and that kind of thing. So yes, I stuck with oracle cards for a very long time, and that was fine. I mean, here's the thing. For each of us, we need to be aware of what is best for us. And even though we may see peers who are just working with tarot in an amazing way, and we may feel like, well, if they're doing it, shouldn't I be doing it? No, not necessarily. You can go a long way with oracle cards. They just approach things differently. Tarot cards, it's interesting that my guide said that they were for research. However, I appreciate that analogy because tarot cards go a lot deeper in my experience. That's what they're designed to do. I mean, that's why there are 78 cards in this deck and 50 something or 40 something in this deck. You know, tarot cards are all about a journey. Tarot cards are about the hero's journey, told through different lenses, told through the lenses of earth energy, fire energy, water energy, air energy. Oracle cards are more about revealing truths in a more single-focused way, let's say. For example, if someone were to ask a question, I could probably choose just one oracle card, and the answer would be enough. It wouldn't go too deep, but it might open up a conversation that may take us deeper. With tarot cards, when a question is asked, it's rare to pull just one card. Typically, there'll be 3 cards, one to represent the past energy of the question, the present energy of the question, and the future energy of the question. And because of that, we get a lot more information. And perhaps more swiftly, I guess you could look at it that way if you want to. It's the difference between perhaps using a slow cooker and using a pressure cooker. We end up with the same results. One just gets there a little bit faster. It's just more intense. How's that for an analogy? So working with oracle cards, I just heard gateway, and truly, if you have any reservations at all about tarot, start with oracle cards. There are thousands upon thousands of decks. All it takes is going to Walmart.com, yes, truly, Walmart.com, I'm not kidding, or Amazon.com, and type oracle card deck or oracle cards in the search and see what comes up. You're certain to find something that will appeal to you. And start from there. I know a lot of people start with decks that are associated with angels or with fairies because they feel comfortable with those energies. And there is nothing wrong with that at all. In fact, that's completely awesome, because if that's what opens the door for you, if that's what helps you to break through any barriers around your intuitive abilities, fantastic. And otherwise, maybe you'll find that you're really drawn to tarot cards, that they really appeal to you, that their storytelling would be more to your liking. And the same thing, you will find thousands of different decks. You'll find angel tarot cards, you'll find cat tarot cards, you'll find Game of Thrones and David Bowie tarot cards. I mean, this is the Housewives tarot deck, and part of the reason I got it was because it's so wonderfully tongue-in-cheek. It takes really normal situations and kind of flips them on their head to align with the energy of the different tarot archetypes and cards. So whatever appeals to you from a divination standpoint, not just talking about oracle cards and tarot cards, anything that appeals to you, if you find yourself really interested in astrology, if you find yourself really interested in tea leaf reading or palmistry, I mean, there are so many different ways to go about divination and so many different tools available. Explore, have fun. If you have a local shop, a metaphysical shop that sells things like that, chances are you'd be able to, if not try things before you buy them, because energy sensitive shop owners won't be having any of that. Otherwise, you could at least really see things in person and pay attention to what you're drawn to. Pay attention to those things that light you up, that cause that butterfly effect in your abdomen, and use that as your barometer. Use that as your starting point. So I'm curious, what is your favorite divination tool? Or, if you don't have any divination tools, what are you drawn to? What appeals to you? What might you start with? Make a commitment to yourself and start. If you've enjoyed this video, I'd love for you to subscribe to my channel. And until next time, you take really good care. Lots of love.